Hello and welcome back to the lesson. I'm here one more time to continue with the lessons in taxation. Today we still focus on value-added tax, and we are going to focus on value-added tax records. In this lesson we will identify the key records that are required to be kept for VAT purposes, the VAT record. Then we look at the format. We'll also identify the period of retention of the records, and number 4, availability for inspection. We will in this lesson study the consistency and reconciliation of records, and lastly the importance of keeping VAT records. We are going to capture those 4 areas in the 6 areas in our today's lesson. VAT records, value-added tax records, because candidates maintaining accurate and comprehensive VAT records is a statutory obligation for all VAT registered persons in Kenya. And these records are crucial for accurate and for facilitating efficient business operations. And the legal basis for keeping of VAT records is the Tax Procedures Act and the VAT Act, along with their respective regulations. So what are these records? What are these VAT records? Now, the first VAT record is the sales records. Sales records. Registered VAT persons are required to maintain sales records, and that involves copies of all e-TIMS generated tax invoices and simplified tax invoices, which are cash sales or receipts that are issued. And these invoices ought to be serially numbered. We may also have copies of serially numbered credit notes, serially numbered debit notes, and records of supplies to privileged persons or institutions showing reason for 0% VAT. Do you understand? The sales records. If you are doing business and you are a VAT registered person, you are first of all required to maintain sales records, which constitute copies of e-TIMS generated tax invoice. That is number 1. We also have copies of serially numbered credit notes. Number 3, we have serially numbered debit notes. Then we also have daily sales book or summaries of sales journals. Then, of course, number 4, we have the records of supplies to privileged persons and institutions, showing why the sales to them are 0 rated. That is one category of record. Then we have 2 purchase records. Purchase records. These are original e-TIM generated tax invoices received for all taxable purchases, which are essential for claiming input tax. Purchase receipts are also to be kept, and order details. For example, the local purchase orders, the contracts, the tenders, and so on. Then we also have copies of customs entries and receipts for payment of import VAT. Under purchases records, one also need to have copies of credit notes and debit notes received from suppliers. We mentioned debit notes and credit notes that are issued to the vendors, but we also have the suppliers. The copies of debit notes and credit notes ought to be kept. So we have sales records, we have purchases records. Then number 3, there are records related to cash. These are cash and bank records. Cash and bank records include the cash book, the petty cash book, the bank statements and reconciliations. We have pay slips or check counterfoils, the records of all payment transactions, whether by cash, by check, or electronic transfer. Any transactions related to cash or bank those records are required to be maintained. The fourth category of records, we are identifying types of records for VAT purposes. Number 4 is imported services records. Imported services records. Imported services records. These are records for reverse charge. There ought to be evidence to identify the supplier and the recipient, also the nature and quantity of services supplied, the time and place of supply. We have the consideration of the supply and the extent to which the supply has been used by recipient for a particular purpose. 5. Returns and accounts. This is another set of records that are required to be maintained. Returns and accounts. These are copies of all VAT3 returns filed monthly. These are monthly returns. Copies of monthly returns should be maintained. Copies of monthly returns. We have annual audited financial statements, including the income statement, the balance sheet, the cash flow statement. There is also the VAT refund claim copies, if applicable. Then another record is the withholding VAT tax certificates. If tax was withheld from your sales, then you need to have copies of withholding tax certificates. Then there are other records like the stock records. Other records include the stock records, that is inventory movement. They may also have details of all deliveries. We have VAT account for each tax period. We have any other accounts or records specified in writing by the Commission. So these are the types of records. Types of records. Then let's discuss briefly the format of records. Format of records. What format should these records take? Records can be maintained physically or electronically. For electronic records, one ought to ensure they are easily accessible, secure, and can be readily retrieved and printed and also readily printable if required by KRA. We have originals of key documents like tax invoices that are crucial, and if originals are lost, one may be required to have certified copies clearly marked as such, and that may be accepted under specific circumstances. So that's the format. It can be physical or electronic. Physical means paper on hard copies. It could also be electronic. That's the format of tax records. How about period of retention? What is the period of retention? For how long should a VAT registered person maintain these records? For how long? What is the period of retention? Now, the Tax Procedures Act mandates taxpayers to retain all tax records, including VAT records, for a period of at least 5 years. At least 5 years. Not less than 5 years. At least 5 years from the last entry made or the end of the tax period to which they relate. Understand? Yes. Availability for inspection. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Availability is important for you to understand. Availability for inspection. That is to mean that VAT registered persons must make their records available to authorized KRA officials for inspection upon request. These records must be made available to authorized Kenya Revenue Authority officials upon request. and the records should be organized. For example, chronologically by date or by suppliers or customers' name to facilitate easy inspection. These records, again, candidates, should be kept in Kenya and should either be in English or Kiswahili languages. You understand? The records should be available for inspection by KRA officials upon request. The records should be kept in such a way that it's easy to inspect. For example, having them organized chronologically. Another point in relation to VAT records is consistency and reconciliation. Consistency and reconciliation. Consistency and reconciliation. Records should be consistent across various financial documents. For example, sales declared in VAT returns should reconcile with audited financial statements, because inconsistencies can trigger audits and additional assessments. And therefore, regular reconciliations. You should regularly reconcile your income tax, VAT, and expense records in order to ensure alignment with financial statements. Do you understand? Then we have another important point. We're talking about consistency and reconciliation. This consistency should be in line with financial statements. It should be in line with financial statements, such that if the VAT records are not consistent with other records like financial statements, that can trigger additional assessments, can trigger audits, can trigger investigation, and therefore it's important to have regular reconciliations. You regularly reconcile the income tax, the expense records, and also VAT to ensure alignment with financial statements. Then we have the last important point here is E-Teams compliance. E-Teams compliance. Now, since 2021 August, all VAT registered taxpayers are required to use E-Teams. E-Teams means Electronic Tax Invoice Management System. The registered person should use compliant devices to generate tax invoices. And these devices transmit invoice data to KRA in real time or near real time. So keeping details is a critical record keeping requirement. And if an E-Team device malfunctions, the taxpayer must report it to the service person and inform KRA in writing within 24 hours. All right? Yes. Now let's finally discuss the importance of keeping VAT records. What is the use? What is the importance of keeping accurate VAT records? One is for accurate tax returns. To facilitate accurate tax returns. Keeping VAT records ensures correct calculation of output tax, input tax, and net VAT liability. Another reason is that these records can be proof for input tax claims. Proof for input tax claims. Without valid records, especially proper tax invoices, input tax claims will be disallowed, leading to increased VAT payable. 3. Audit readiness. These records facilitate smooth KRA audits and reduces the likelihood of disputes, penalties, and additional assessments. Another importance or reason is burden. Is it burden of proof? Proof. Yes. Under the Tax Procedures Act, the burden of proving that a tax assessment is incorrect lies with the taxpayer. So without sufficient supporting documentation, it becomes difficult to challenge KRA's assessments. Then another obvious reason is for financial management. That is another reason why if you are a VAT registered person should maintain proper records. It's for financial management. That these records provides clear financial insights for business decision making, for tracking profitability and even cash flows. 6. These records can help a registered taxpayer, VAT person, to avoid penalties. Avoidance of penalties. Failure to maintain proper records is an offense that attracts significant penalties. For example, we have 10% of tax payable or even 100,000 shillings, whichever is higher. So that is all candidates for VAT records. In this lesson, we've identified the types of records. We've also seen that the format of VAT records should be in physical form or electronic form. The VAT records should also be maintained for at least 5 years. We've seen why these records can or should be made available for inspection by KRA officials. We've seen the importance of consistency and reconciliation and e-Teams compliance. In this lesson, again, we've identified 6 reasons why keeping proper VAT records is critical. One is to account for tax returns. It may be used as proof for input tax claims. These records help the taxpayer be ready for audits. Okay, it is also the burden of proof lies with the VAT registered person. 5 is just for financial management and also avoidance of penalties. Thank you for attending the lesson. We will meet in our next session where we continue to learn more on value-added tax in Kenya. Bye.